So this week when The Atlantic published their incredible piece about Kash Patel and the custom bottles of bourbon with his name on them that he has allegedly been handing out while conducting FBI business, I thought, well, surely no one can compete with that. Surely no one else in the Trump administration could top that kind of government-sponsored self-promotion. Well, it's quite possible former Fox News host turned Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth saw that story and said, Kash, hold my beer.
Mr. Secretary, what are you doing here, sir? I'm going to your show tonight. Awesome. You jump in. I'll give you a ride. Oh, I appreciate that. But how about I give you a ride?
That was from one of MAGA musician Kid Rock's concerts last week. You know of also RFK Jr. bare topless fame from that crazy video. Anyway, Pete Hegseth appears to have used multiple military helicopters, you can see them on the screen, to help Kid Rock shoot that flashy video for him to start his concerts with. And he did that just after he came under scrutiny for a military helicopter flyby that just happened to go by Kid Rock's Nashville home. Now, the nonprofit Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington asked the Defense Department's Inspector General to investigate that flyby. And just yesterday, they got a response. And the Inspector General's office told them that, quote, Secretary Hegseth indicated that he decided not to pursue this matter. So just to pause on this for just a second. The Inspector General just isn't looking into it because the guy running the agency, his agency, as in the Inspector General's office, is responsible for conducting oversight over, told them not to, which is not at all how an Inspector General's office is supposed to work or ever works in most other administrations ever. But amazingly, that is not even the worst example of a cabinet secretary using their role to promote themselves that we have seen this week. Because today, it seemed like former reality TV star turned Trump's transportation secretary Sean Duffy saw what Kash Patel was up to and saw what Pete Hegseth was up to. Seemed like he saw what they were up to and just said, hold my beer and hold my bourbon, please.
Well, America's 250th anniversary is fast approaching, and what better way to celebrate our beautiful country than to see our beautiful country?
The Duffy family is doing just that, embarking on a great American road trip to rediscover our great nation.
I think Mud's kind of mad. I'm not.
Oh, you're mad.
We're not going to fight on this trip. Put your seatbelts on.
So we're inviting you along with our family on the Great American Road Trip.
That's right. It's a real video. It's not AI. Trump's former reality TV star transportation secretary has turned being transportation secretary basically into something of a reality TV show, if you can believe it. One that provides an awful lot of free promotion for Secretary Duffy and his family, I might add. Now, Duffy told Fox News today that he has been filming this whole thing on and off for 7 months. Again, does this guy have an actual job? I mean, that is incredible. When you remember how mad Sean Duffy himself was at Biden's transportation secretary, Pete Buttigieg, for taking a singular vacation and, of course, going on paternity leave.
What's striking is how often this happens. There's a crisis, and Pete Buttigieg decides to ignore it. Mayor Pete went on vacation in Portugal just a couple weeks ago as rail workers prepared to strike. He was on paternity leave as dozens of container ships couldn't enter the country a year ago.
Now, remind me, Sean, can I call you Sean? When Pete Buttigieg was transportation secretary, did we have the longest TSA shutdown in American history? With the longest TSA wait times in American history? No. That 75-day shutdown ended just last month, while Secretary Duffy was out shooting this road trip reality show with his family. Secretary Duffy says that the point of his new series is to celebrate America's 250th anniversary by encouraging families to get in the car and see the country. Because, as he put it remarkably on Fox News today,
it fits any budget to do a road trip.
Does it now, Transportation Secretary? It fits any budget now to do a road trip? Are you sure that's the message you want to go with right now? As Americans all over the country are struggling to pay for their everyday lives, including gas, as they face the skyrocketing cost of everything, including gas, because of Donald Trump, your boss's war with Iran? Are you sure you want to talk about the price of driving right now? But the cost of what appears to have been a fun trip for Secretary Duffy and his family is something we definitely should talk about, because the Department of Transportation told MS Now that career ethics officials reviewed and approved Secretary Duffy's participation and travel for this series. The department also told MS Now that all production costs for this trip were paid for by a nonprofit called the Great American Road Trip. And that nonprofit told us tonight that it paid for things like gas, car rentals, lodging, food, and activities for the Duffy family. So Secretary Duffy got a nice, fun, free trip. And if you go to that nonprofit's website, you see all sorts of corporate sponsors like Toyota and Shell and Royal Caribbean and United Airlines. You know, all sorts of companies that could have business that the Secretary of Transportation could be involved with in any official capacity. Companies that also just so happen to feature prominently in the Transportation Secretary's new series. Now, in the trailer, you can watch the Duffy family touring a Royal Caribbean cruise ship. Earlier, I misspoke and said he took that cruise. Forgive me. He just toured the dock ship, going on the water slide and using the rock climbing wall. My bad on that one. Now, in the trailer, you can also see them drive around in a Toyota with the Toyota logo right in the center of the screen. Now, all of this, Kash Patel's self-promoting bourbon bottles, Pete Hegseth self-promoting and Kid Rock promoting military helicopter rides, and Sean Duffy's self-promoting reality show, all that's pretty incredible when you remember that just 2 months ago, when Trump fired Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, his reported reason for doing so was that he didn't like her using her office for self-promotion. Hey, Trump, if you're listening, I know you mainly like to fire women, but you may want to take a look at the guys in your cabinet right now, because they're up to some things.